Welcome back to NBL Marketplace, which is, of course, your home of everything relating to NBL free agency. What a massive couple of weeks it's been. Some huge signings, and it's a chance for us today to kind of catch up on some of the big stories, what it all means, and have some, well, I would imagine some spirited conversation between Brad Rosen and Derek Rucker, who join me for another edition of Marketplace Versus. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you. Derek, let's start with you. Last time we did this, it was with Damon Lowry. And it was so scarring for him that he's now on a beach somewhere trying to recover.
Lucky him. I've been following his tour, his world tour of Europe, and it looks fantastic. He's still getting his runs in, but I'm looking forward to him getting back. But today I get to tour Brad here on the marketplace.
Yeah, and you two, such a wonderful combination during the season in commentary. So we thought we'd get you back together today. Brad, we haven't spoken to you for a few weeks. My goodness me, have things hotted up all of a sudden?
Man, I've just been watching from afar. Let me say, I feel Damon's punish. I've been dealing with it for 2 years. I understand why he went away, and I've already booked my flight for after this meeting. But let me say, I've been absolutely loving what I've been watching and what's been going on in City of Churches, Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, town, everywhere. I love what Cairns are doing, and Tasmania. This has been great. Can we just get this season on?
Jack, let me jump in right there because we started off the first marketplace live and it was a little bit slow. We were unsure if there was going to be much activity. Man, has it changed. And it's so on brand with the MDL, right when you think things are simmering down, boom, the lid flies off because the water is boiling. And that's where we are now. So much to get through.
It feels like every time you put your phone down and you pick it back up again, there's a notification of something. It's fantastic to see. We are going to cover off some of the biggest issues over the last few weeks of free agency. You two know the rules. Debate as much as you like. Just keep it nice. That's all we ask. Just keep it nice. Do you think you can do that?
No, not a chance.
Okay. Let's start with the hottest story of the day as we go to record right now. And that is an interview that Kendrick Davis has done with Pete Hooley for The Huddle, talking about his move from the Adelaide 36ers to the Sydney Kings. Now, as the old saying goes, there are three sides to the story, and the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle. But Kendrick's had his say on how negotiations went with Adelaide. Adelaide and Matt Weston have had their say. It's just getting a bit tense all of a sudden. So the question I pose both of you to start with, what's going to be spicier? The first time Kendrick goes back to Adelaide or the first time Bryce goes back to Perth?
That's a tough one, Jack. And I think Kendrick has really stirred up the Adelaide front office and ownership situation more so than the fan base. And that's going to be the difference. I think Bryce has really, given the Red Army some stupid reason to feel like it's an affront that after he served them dutifully as an MVP and championship winner, that he owes them anything else. But it doesn't mean the venom will be any less for either player as they go back to their former home clubs.
I'm with you, Derek. I agree. It's so different. But to me, there is no doubt the juicier one is Bryce Cotton in Perth. That thing had been simmering for a year. We knew something was going on. Why hadn't he signed? Why wasn't it locked in? And then, boom, out of nowhere, he goes to the City of Churches. And now the guy that he's replaced is saying, well, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. So I'll tell you what, I would give anything to be in either of those venues because that is box office having to see those guys go home.
Yeah, but you say you don't know why Bryce didn't sign. You do know why Bryce didn't sign. Anytime there's a problem, it's usually one thing: money. Perth didn't come up with the dollars. Adelaide at the last minute, when no one thought that Bryce was coming back, Adelaide said, let me just poke around and see what's here. And they got the big prize. But Kendrick Davis, give this guy some credit. He is not willing. He is not afraid to speak his mind. He is willing to go out there and put his truth forth, Jack. And like you said, it doesn't mean it is the actual universal truth, but we love the fact that he's willing to speak his mind and be really upfront about what he believes.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm not with you on that situation in Perth. If I'm Bryce Cotton, he said a number of times, it's not about the money. If it was about money, he would have left this league a few seasons ago. To me, Perth dropped the ball, didn't get it done early enough when they could have. And then when he had the situation and then they put a deadline on him is what we're told. You don't do that. to a 5-time MVP. No way. You give him as much time as you want, unless that you've got someone signed that next day that you knew this is why we weren't going there. So, yeah, I couldn't see that, but I agree with you in the Adelaide situation.
And I see what you're saying, because one of the most important things when you're dealing with a high-profile player like Bryce is respect. The moment he feels slighted or disrespected, you got a problem.
Absolutely. That's not a money thing. Amen to that.
We'll just jump around a little bit on the rundown. Perth were down for a little bit later on, but while we're here, we may as well talk about the Wildcats. Should they be concerned, the Red Army, right now? Because there's a lot of teams doing some business and there's not much going on with Perth.
Well, it all depends what their perception is in the marketplace with players and agents. Do agents feel as if there is some, untoward buildup? Are they not sure what they're doing? I don't think that to be the case, but perception is often so much different than the reality. Now, again, they have plenty of resources. They're one of the blue chip franchises in Australian sport. They've got a great fan base. They've got so many resources out there, and they've got an ambitious and very driven and motivated owner. So, even though it looks skinny right now in terms of their recruiting success, things can change very quickly, Brad.
Yeah, it can. And we look back at Illawarra last year when you lose a Gary Clark and everyone's like, man, I didn't have Illawarra in the 6 when we did our very, 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 very early predictions of the season. And then you get a situation, well, now Trey Kell's in there. Now they pick up this other import. Oh, hang on, these guys are good. I'm a little bit worried because I'm not sure where they're going to go with Perth. Right now, I love what they've got, the Doolittle situation and bringing in the pieces. But those pieces work outstanding with a Bryce Cotton. Now I'm not sure what's going to happen. And they've only got one import spot left. To me, they got to go big because Keanu's gone. Well, at least my understanding is. So where do they go for that big? Or if they go small, then who is your big? So, yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Perth at this stage. But like you said, it's not signed yet. There is another player to come in. It'll be interesting to see which way they go.
They've got to try and hit on the marquee spot, don't they? Should that be the big focus for Perth right now, Brad? As you say,
Who?
2 import spots filled. Dylan Windler's coming back. Christian Doolittle's coming back. And you'd think that they've got one more that they'll make a big splash. But every other team's nailed the marquee spot, it seems, except for the Wildcats.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but I'm searching my head and going, who? Now, there are a lot of Australians playing around the world, no question about that. And, that's not going overseas and looking at. A lot will depend, I guess, what happens in the draft. If a number of the Australians in the draft go that second round, maybe they'll be moved on and not moved on in the sense of from the team, but they might be able to come down here. And that's where that could be the turning point. Let's use a young kid like a Tyrese Proctor, right? He goes a second round. Now, if he goes to a Perth and then they go and get a big American, okay, well, that's a young point guard. I know he'll get his time and stuff, but then you sort of look at them slightly different. Or does a Lockie Ulbrich now, does he come back? Does he go to Illawarra? Where's he go? All of these situations I think will be great. But you're absolutely right. One player's not enough for Perth to beat the teams. I mean, look what everyone's been recruiting over the past month or so. One big player for Perth is not enough. The marquee is it, but who?
Yeah, and it's tough, Brad, because if you do go for the big import, getting back to the predicament that you described earlier, now you're hurting out on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And I think that they really need some perimeter scoring. And, they lose Henschel, they lose Cotton. That is a lot of productivity that is now absent. So they're in a little bit of a pickle. For me, I would have tried to work it out with Keanu Pender. I think this is going to be not as big a loss as obviously Bryce Cotton is to the Wildcats, but Pender is going to be one of the biggest losses throughout the league to any one club when you take Bryce out of the equation. Like, I would have tried to work that out, sat down with him, tried to understand what he needed as a player, but often our league doesn't work like that. We're like, let's move you out, let's get on to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
You agree with that, Brad?
Yeah, I do. The question, and this is where Jack was saying, well, in theory, that's that marquee player. Who's left?
Yeah.
Now, losing Bryce, that's unfathomable. I understand that. But you can go and get another import. That's where that replacement, now they can decide what way they want to go. But losing Keanu, well, now you've got a situation of, well, now I've got 2 spots to fill and I've got 1 import or this marquee, but how do I go? And, a lot of these marquee players, the ones that have been in this league and dominated, they're tied up at the moment. So I don't know where they're going to get that. And, if I'm Perth, I'm sitting back worrying, and I'm certainly worrying that Bryce Cotton's going to try and get more than 59 the next time he goes into the gym.
Oh, you can be guaranteed next time Bryce comes, or for the first time Bryce comes to Perth, he's trying to get 159, not 59.
Hey, and shout out to Bryce for showing a totally different side of his personality over the past few weeks. Fueled, obviously, by that disrespect I mentioned earlier and some serious vengeance. He wants to get these guys back and stick it to them something hard. And I love hearing Bryce just be so open about how he feels. I think the podcast, the Easy Day deal, has been really informative and enlightening and something different. So, you're seeing a much different Bryce. And look, it's great. We love having him back. Shout out to Adelaide for getting it done. But now the pressure is squarely on Perth to try and come up with something. Jack, I predict that they pay a local from another team well over market value to ensure that they have somebody.
You got any just add to that, Jack? When Bryce got signed, my phone lit up from 1D Ruck saying, I cannot believe he's back in this league. How exciting is it? I'm so happy. I don't know if Adelaide were happier than what Derek Rucker was to have him back in our league.
Just go back to that point, Derek, that you made for a second about overpaying. Have you got anyone in mind for Perth?
Well, like Brad said, what if Lucky Olbrick all of a sudden he's out there? Something, who knows what's going to happen there, and all of a sudden he's available. He's now a mercenary. He got his championship. He wants to get paid if he can't be in a two-way situation in the NBA. Another one, Harry Froling. It very well could be if Harry's been hanging around Illawarra, if Harry's been hanging around in Melbourne and working out with some of the Melbourne clubs. We know he's playing for Andrew Gaze at the moment. But if he's sniffing around and building his value up to lure him out of there, if his agent plays the game properly, he can get a really good number out of a desperate Perth Wildcats if Harry shows any level of physical proficiency and that he's fully recovered from his head injury.
Hey, Derek, let me ask you this, though. What do you think both of these players need to give? I'm thinking it's probably got to be combined about 30 and 15, because I'm seeing what they've got and what they're going to score. Yes, you've got Windler. Yes, you've got their pieces that they've got and Doolittle. But I'm thinking to myself, they need more scoring punch. Obviously, you've taken out the best scoring punch in our league, no question. So that's where it worries me. If you go and sign this marquee and an import, you can't just get an import getting 20. I don't know if that's enough.
Well, I think that I would be after an import point guard myself, Brad, or more one can lean towards the two, and I need 17 points, 5 assists, and moderate to effective leadership.
Let's change it from one side of the country to the other. Let's talk about the Cairns Taipans. As we go to record today, not confirmed, but all but confirmed that Adam Ford sensationally will be returning to coach the Taipans next season. Now, this is off the back of a change in ownership as well. And all of a sudden, it looks like the Cairns Taipans have got some money to spend. It looks like they're able to compete with teams for the first time, probably ever, in this league. So the question I pose to both of you, if Adam Ford has got a shopping list, who should be at the top of that?
I'd be going after Keanu Pender. If these new owners got some bank, if they're willing to make big transfers out of their bank accounts, let's test it right away. Go get Keanu Pender. We understand how important the relationship between Adam Ford and Pender has been over the years. Keanu played his best professional basketball as a Cairns Taipan, and you got a chance to really invigorate that team. You put Sam Warrenberg alongside Keanu Pender. Now you got a front line and 2 locals who could very well be the 2 best local bigs in the competition if they are a tandem.
No-brainer to me. I'm talking to Paddy Mills and saying, what do you want? If it's a percentage in the team, if it's anything we can give you, we want you in Cairns. Can you imagine what that would do to that area and what it would do to Cairns? And then you don't have to recruit anyone. They're coming. They're coming.
Brad, just get them both.
There you go. I'm saying Keanu's coming if Pat yarns. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to even worry about that. I think he would be unbelievable for this league. I know we've said it for years. There's a guy there that's still, he can do enough in this league to absolutely dominate. Man, how good would that be to see him go up against different teams and certain teams? But the one thing I worry about Cairns is there's no question they're behind the 8 ball. But let me shout out, love having Peter Hooley. 40 back. Should I say it that way? And, I love the fact that we've got 40 back. He is a character. He is a brilliant coach. He is one of the guys I know as a commentator. I love commentating with him being in the game because he's into it. He's so good. He's smiling. And I love the fact that he's back. On the Cairns side, as I was saying, yeah, they're behind the 8 ball. They don't have enough players. They've got to score with 3 big imports. But if they can make that big splash and the money is there, like you're saying, up north's going to go.
Adam Ford returning to Cairns is up there with the Bryce signing, with the Kendrick and Delhi move to Sydney. I think Ford returning to Cairns has given them a way to continue with what he had established. But also, it provides Ford, now that he has the resources and Cairns is no longer like the little engine that could. Now they're going to be well-financed and can compete with the big boys. He gets to coach and see what he can do with a fully paid-for roster. And that's not to slight what they've done in the past because they've done admirable work in Cairns for a number of years. But now it's big boy time.
Yeah, I want to add to that as well. I think what you're saying, Ruck, is perfect. And one of the things that you could see happen in Cairns over the last few years is you go there, you play, and then you literally have to move away for that big ticket buy, right? Well, now that they've got these funds that's behind them, now you're signing guys to 3 years and they're not coming in to just show their wealth and go somewhere else. They're coming in because they want to win a championship. And this changes the whole mindset of the whole club, the whole association. And being that Adam's come back and 40's like, I'm all in, it's fantastic for the area.
And Brad, the other thing it does, it puts a lot of pressure on New Zealand, on Brisbane, those teams that finished down towards the bottom with Cairns last season. Ford has an advantage over those 2 coaches at Brisbane and New Zealand. This guy's a proven recruiter. He's coached in a lot of big games. I think right now it lifts everyone in the competition. It lifts the standard. And if you're not willing to meet what Cairns is doing and you're in the bottom half of the competition, you're in a lot of trouble in NBL 26.
Yep.
We spoke about the Adelaide 36ers earlier on, but let's go from the guards to the big men. Montrezl Harrell's back, which is very exciting for the league. He was must-watch TV last year. But he and Isaac Humphries, you wouldn't say it necessarily worked that well together. Now they're back together for a full season. Is it going to work?
Look, I'll jump in here first. My answer is, yeah, I think it will. I think with the situation they had, don't forget, Trez came in, well, I don't want to call it halfway during the year because it was earlier than that, but they'll get preseason together. The fact that they'll be able to be that 1 year under their belt with a lot of stuff that went on in that club last year. That thing was unbelievable. It was a circus, as we know. Now, Trez's box office, he creates a lot of talk and everything, but there's the elephant in the room that we keep talking about, and that's Bryce Cotton. He brings a whole different dynamic that he knows in the locker room, this is what we need to get done. And I think that when you've got a Trez situation doing what he does, and you've got Bryce, a 5-time MVP and champion, you're just looking at each other going, right, we've got one thing here, and that's to win a chip. You put in DJ here, who's won it in Sydney a couple of times. You go to Isaac and you go, right, this is what we're going to do. I have no doubt in my mind, barring injury, that will work for sure.
And with all of the drama and the excitement and everything Adelaide went through, keep in mind, Jack, that they were only one bad half of basketball away from being in the semifinals. And if they've made all the right moves, which they believe they have in terms of character and basketball IQ, whatever they want to say, however they want to spin it, Isaac Humphries and Montrez spent a lot of time together, and I think they'll be better for that time this season. Also, Jamal Martin's not involved in it anymore, and now he is out of that. So it's not like they have to share minutes. There are more minutes for each guy, and Adelaide have already made a consistent focus of Isaac in their dialogue in the preseason.
Hey, Ruck, I want to ask you one thing, because this is the only thing, and I'm trying to work out, where do you go as a coach against Adelaide? What do you do? And the one thing I'm thinking is Bryce is a point guard. There's no question about that. But he's always had that pure point guard next to him as well. Now he hasn't got that. DJ and he are more two, but Bryce can obviously shift to the one. That's the attack that I think I'm going at when I'm playing against Adelaide. I'm going at that up the court, try and get them 80 feet that you wear them down at the end of the game. That's the only thing that I could see right now that might hurt them.
And I made a quick reference to Jarrell Martin earlier about not clogging up minutes. But one thing he did start to provide at the end of the season, and what Adelaide don't appear to have right now, is three-point shooting from a big. We've seen Trez be able to step out and do it a bit, but I think they need a true stretch the floor big out there to complement Humphries and Montrez. Now, he doesn't have to be as big as Martin was. He can be a smaller player, but he still needs to be able to play up front. Now, the key is also going to be, you got to challenge their point guard play. Bryce isn't a one, okay? Vasiljevic isn't a one. So pressure those guys up the floor. See if they're willing to play with the intensity, the composure, and the point guard smarts, even though they're not point guards, to get the team in the offense and play sound basketball. We know they want to get up and down, but that's not always going to be possible.
We haven't spoken a lot about the Sydney Kings in the last couple of weeks, mainly because they've done a lot of their business. Their roster is almost complete. Shout out to Chris Pongrass as well, who's stepping away from his role. It's been outstanding here in the league and hopefully not lost to Australian basketball. But just a question at the 5 spot for you firstly, Brad. They haven't signed anything to support Kelly Leaupepe as yet. Now, Brian Goorjian showed at times last year that that's what he wanted to do. Are you comfortable with Kelly Leaupepe being the starting centre in that team?
No. I love Kelly. I think he's an outstanding player, but I think it was proven. Kelly Leaupepe can rebound against anyone. He's probably a better offensive rebounder than he is defense sometimes, the way he goes. But the problem I've got is just in that half-court set and the half-court offense, when the ball goes up, the Kings gave up a lot of offensive rebounds, and it was very evident last year. At times, they box out and they're great rebounders, and if you look at individual stats, they rebound well. But as a team, they gave up a lot of offensive boards, and in games we were calling when they lost, that really hurt them. Obviously, we now know Gorge is going to the Knicks as an assistant coach in the Summer League. I have no doubt that they want to fill that spot. And I know Chris has come out, and a shout out to Chris, because he is great, and it's a shame to lose him. And like you said, let's hope it's not to the league. But there's no question to me if they're going to be that absolute next level, that they've got the scoring punch, but you got to have someone in the anchor. You need that 5-man to be a rim protector and a rebounder. They don't need 30 points. They don't need anything like that. They need a guy to set big screens, roll hard, get rebounds, and go. Now you bring Kelly Leaupepe off the bench to get his 3 or 4 offensive rebounds, run the lane, step out, hit the 3. It's a really nice call. But no, I wouldn't want to have him as my 5 and Zabe in the 4 going forward without that backup situation.
Yeah, I agree, Brad. And we saw them just get pounded on the board so many occasions last season, and it really determined the outcome of basketball games down there. And look, I know they're looking for a big, but the market is very difficult. It's pricey to find bigs. And the Kings, while everyone has the idea that they're these huge spenders, they're pretty prudent with their financial books, and they don't like to spend in poor value mode. So they're looking for someone that's going to make sense from a financial point of view and a playing point of view. So I imagine they'll use this time in Vegas. Look, there may be some locals out there that pop up again. It's so hard to find bigs right now. Everyone's kind of in the same position. So good luck to them. But overall, Galloway coming back, Noy coming back, they are deep. They just need that one guy that can play 15 to 20 minutes up front.
Melbourne United in the last week have signed Milton Doyle. I think that will be officially announced in the next 24 hours as we go to record. But the deal is done. So Golding and Doyle next to each other. How's that going to function?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Brad.
No, yeah, I've been trying to think about that. As individual players, they're both unbelievable and outstanding. And we've seen, the Delhi situation and Shaylee and Golding, and it works. And I have no doubt it will work with Milton Doyle. So I think it's a great signing, and I have, well done to them. I just worry about the big situation again. I'm just not really sure where they go. They're, losing Delhi. That defensive nous. Yes, they've got Shea, but now they're replacing it more with that offensive sets and a guy that can sort of do everything. I think he'll complement CG because he's one of those guys. I mean, we've all been saying throughout the whole year that we wanted to see Milton shoot the ball more, and we know that he can. But I think having those two together with Shaylee in that 1-2-3, I love it. I think it's great. I'm just not convinced yet with that 4-5 spot that that's enough to be able to compete with what we're seeing from other teams.
Yeah, well, Melbourne United's goal is to get back to the championship. That would be 3 years in a row. And part of the reason why they lost this past season to Illawarra was their inability to contain defensively on the perimeter. Kell and Harvey went crazy, and then Will Hickey absolutely whitewashed them in games 4 and 5 because of their inability to keep the ball in front of them. I don't see how the Doyle signing makes you any better defensively. He has been a poor shooter throughout the year, throughout his seasons in the NBL. And if you look at his stats, they are in decline. He shot 37% from the field last season and at a 3-year low in terms of points, or 2 years, however many years he's been in the league. But he is a good basketball player, and this is the difficulty, the complexity with Milton Doyle. He makes big shots. He goes on runs that wins you game or gets you back into games. But I just think at Melbourne United, he's going to have to play at a higher level. He's going to have to play better defensively, and he's going to have to be more consistent with his productivity.
I'm going to challenge you on the fact that his numbers were down, and not the challenge of that, because I completely agree with you. I just think the fact that what Tasmania lost in the off-season to come back, he played such a beautiful role with the team that they had. But when you lose the caliber of what they lost, I just felt he had to play a role that he wasn't as comfortable in and what he was theoretically signed for. I think he gets back to that role with Melbourne because he's got those guys around him. He's not going to be throwing the ball here. Go do this. We need scores, mate. Or, we need you to get this. When you got CG there and you got Shea and you've got what you've got around you and, outstanding coaching, or, Scott Roth right there with the outstanding coaching. I just feel that this could be sort of the lease of life that he needs and sort of free him up, if that's the right words to use, where he's got those players and doesn't have to worry about A, B, and C. Just worry about D, E, and F, and that's all I need from you.
Yeah, that's really valid, Brad. And I can see that. And I also point to Jordan Crawford and say, this is why, for the reasons that you explained right there very well, is why Jordan Crawford would be of high interest to me if I'm looking for a guard in the NBL. Because both of these guys are championship winners. They are big play makers, and they don't fear the moment. And even though they don't totally jive with my analyst mind and my analytical mind, I do acknowledge and respect the fact that both of those guys are winners.
Last one. Actually, there's two, but one's not for you, Derek. One's just for Brad, which I'll get to in a couple of moments. Last one is Omari Moore, who signs with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Now, this is a 6'6" guard. This is in the mold of a Trey Kell type guard. This is one for the purists here. Is this kind of the direction of where point guards in this league and potentially around the world are going? These big, tall, long guards?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that and say it's really interesting, isn't it? Because we went with these small guards, quick 7-footers, centers, and running, and you win your championships, and everyone sort of backs it and goes, "Well, that's the way I want to go." Now Trey Kell comes in here with Tyler Harvey, and everyone goes, "Whoa, hang on a sec, let's pull the reins up here. We might look at what we want to do here." I love a 6'6" point guard. I do say that this league is a very fast-paced league, so as long as he is fast from what I've seen, which is limited, yeah, he's going to be okay. But now when you look at that Illawarra mold, there were times there where you've got the shortest guy on the court is 6'4", is 6'5", and you can just switch everything. So what you're able to do defensively now is massive, and I really, really like that signing. I do still worry a little bit that it could slow your pace down a little bit, but when you take like an Illawarra Hawks, look at the pace that they had. So yeah, I think they looked at the mold. Yeah, I think they went after what they wanted, and they're looking to, replicate of what Illawarra does. And if you remember, Illawarra were in a very same situation as what they are now with Phoenix. They came off a season where they started 0-5. Illawarra, I think, were 2-7. Coach changed. They ran through the whole season where I was like, wow, this is amazing. The next year, Illawarra win it. Well, now we're at that next year with Phoenix. They've made those 1 or 2 changes, exactly like Tatum did. Look out for the Phoenix. They look like they're humming and ready to go.
That's legit. And apparently he's supposed to be an outstanding defensive player, which may help drive steals, disruptive hands, deflections, all that type of stuff that can actually generate easier buckets on the offensive end. Look, the Phoenix are going to be fine. Again, they were a team that were in the semifinals and kind of been under the radar, but they bring back Jordy Hunter, Sobey, Glover. They've got a really good nucleus there. Josh King is only going to be better for having last season in the NBL. And again, a really driven guy who wants to excel. And yeah, I like where they're positioned right now, Brett.
Yeah, I
Last
agree.
question.
Did you notice there, Jack? Derek's got 9 teams in the top 6, so let's keep going.
Well, speaking of Derek, the last question is for you, Brad. So, Derek, maybe just like cover your ears or something for a second here if you don't want to hear the answer. Brad, if Derek makes another one of these outrageous preseason predictions about who's going to win the championship, I vote that he should come to work for you for a day on the tools as a Sparky.
Oh, man, that would, I've often thought about that, and then I think about my clients, and I could never, ever do that to them. So that would be a shame. I said to Derek, I would drive next to him to see him do that. I got no problems to run from Perth to Brisbane, which you said, if they make the grand final, I will do it. Then he's
Yes.
My physio said I shouldn't do it.
Yes.
I'm with you, Derek. You can come to me, apprentice electrician.
Jack, are you ready for my championship series prediction?
Are we getting this now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Illawarra Hawks versus the Sydney Kings. The Freeway Series.
So, Jack, your first question today was, what are you more excited about? Is it Bryce going to Perth? Is it KD going to Adelaide? Right now, it's probably Derek going anywhere but Sydney or Melbourne. Sydney or Illawarra. That's where I want to see it.
Well, I mean, Derek, it's bold of you to put that out there. Like, what happens if Perth sign LeBron James tomorrow? What are you going to do then?
Yeah, well, we never know. I mean, look, again, when you talk about clubs that have resources, anything is possible. And the way this world is operating now, especially in the basketball world, players are open to moving. It's not like it was 20 years ago where you kind of locked into your country or wherever and you didn't look to get elsewhere. Look how many players and coaches are around the world right now that will return to the NBL. It's an exciting time. Brad, we missed out, buddy. This is the time to be playing professional basketball.
Oh, amen to that. I miss it every day. I just got a text message from Brian Gorshin and Justin Tate and tell him, can Derek Rucker please be quiet?
I can't believe that it's like early June and Derek's already given his championship prediction. I think what we need to do is watch how many times that changes between now and the start of the season, Brad.
Fair.
Amen. And Illawarra, that's a bold call with no Sam Frolling as well. That's a bold call, Ruck.
We should do this again soon, you two. Great work. Thank you for being with us on the show today, and we'll catch you both soon.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Thanks for being with us on NBL Marketplace as well, our special versus edition of Rosen versus Rucker. Leave your thoughts and leave your punishments for Derek if he doesn't get his championship predictions right. We'll catch you next time on Marketplace.